Check out the Male Advantage paperback, ebook, and audiobook using the links below. Okay guys, welcome back to another video. This video is pretty weird title. It's that we're the first generation of losers. And I think this is a really important video to make because I've never heard anybody speak about this. And number two, probably most importantly, I think it's a big reason as to why male depression is so high and guys feel so shitty about themselves. And I'm big into history, right? I'm big into like documentaries and stuff on like Alexander the Great and all these different people. And I will often watch one and just like learn from history and whatever, and I just find it fascinating. And when the streaming platform comes out eventually, I want to do a ton of like movies and series around like different events in history. I find it absolutely fascinating. I probably should have done more with it at school. I just didn't really know back then. And one like common theme that I keep seeing when it comes to these like old historic figures, like these, what would it be? Kind of the warriors, the champions, the legends that go down in history, is the age at which they first find an accomplishment. Okay? And this has kind of been persistent throughout history, all the way up until maybe the last 15 to 20 years since the internet. It changed, okay? So I'd often speak, I'll give you an example of this. I'll do either end of the scale and you'll be able to really fathom what I'm talking about. So Alexander the Great, for example, by the time he was like 21, he'd conquered like the majority of Europe. He'd gone into Asia. Like, that's ridiculous. And people were calling him like an already accomplished man. He's at the top of his game. Do you know what I mean? Like by 25, you were considered old and like it was crazy. It was different times, okay? And then I think about like my own dad and my mum. Like I'd talk to them about like what age they were when they had me, what age they were when, you know, whatever. And I remember them being like, oh, we were 21 years old, we had a mortgage, we had a baby on the way, you know, we had, like, your dad had already started his business, and it's like, what? Like, how? How did you do all that by 21? And it's just different times, do you know what I mean? Like, everything was completely different to the way they are now. And even, like, the nature, and I'll get into this in a second, okay? But even, like, the nature of my dad's business, it was very manual labor-based. He ended up making like $250,000 2 years running. Well, that was at least revenue, not profit. But back then, that's almost like $500,000. That was insane for the year. And his job was just like installing and repairing petrol pumps. So like gas stations. Like he was one of the only people in the UK doing that at the time. And he'd go around independently, like dig them, rip them out of the ground, like jackhammer, dig them out, take them out, repair them, do what needs to be done, put them back in, put a new one in. Got paid thousands for doing that, okay? That nature of work and getting paid a lot of money for it is very manual labor based. It's very strength based. It's, you know, it could have been done, and it was done, but in a different format thousands of years ago. You know, when people weren't using two different skills when they were building the pyramids compared to when my dad was ripping out petrol pumps. Yeah, obviously there's some subtle nuance differences, but the main skill there is just strength-based, manual labor-based, you know, that sort of outside, getting your hands dirty, okay? And this is the point that I want to touch on, is so many guys get depressed about not having a life by 25 years old, 30 years old, and, you know, I'm a loser. Like, we are the first generation of losers beyond the age of, like, 21. It's never, ever happened before. Usually guys have got something going on, they've progressed and whatnot. Here's my theory, and I think it's pretty accurate, is take epigenetics, okay? Epigenetics is, for example, I'll give you a great example, and this will explain it better for you guys. The grandkids of Holocaust survivors are more susceptible to stress, okay? So, like, certain things that you lived through, certain things that happened to you, they impact the next generations moving on. You know, it's like a survival mechanism. You learn, you grow, whatever, like all this shit, right? My dad's job was manual labor based. It was strength based. It was, you know, things like that. Alexander the Great, when he conquered all these different places, it was strength based. You know, there's some strategy in there, whatever, but it was mainly let's fight the other guys. And if we kill them, we win. I become a great guy, right? It's only this generation that we're in now where the skills that we have to learn in order to become successful, rich, get the most benefit from, are not epigenetically learned. I'll give you an example. Have you ever sat there with like a 4 or 5-year-old kid, whatever, like it's one of your friend's kids and whatnot, and you just like, let's say if it's a girl, you put your hand up and they might just be like looking at you strangely. You put your hands up like that to like a little boy and they'll just go, doof, doof. Like they'll just start throwing fucking hands at your hands and you're like, how did you know that? It's mental, right? Or they'll just have the urge to just kick you out of nowhere. It's like certain things they know. You roll a football to them and they will probably kick it or do something with it or pick it up or throw it. Like they just have these set skills in here. If you were to put that same kid in front of a computer screen, it just wouldn't be second nature to be like, okay, we're going to type this up. We're going to click here. We're going to, so all the skills that we are born with, are very much run, jump, fight, fuck. All these sort of basics of life, which used to get you through, which used to pay you. And now a great example of that in modern life is sports, singing, stuff like this. These are all things that we've been doing for thousands of years. They're just epigenetically passed on. So from the age of like 3-4 years old, you've already got that skill set. You're already fucking amazing at running, jumping, whatever, because of your genetics. And the epigenetics is like a learnt behavior. You know how to throw a punch. That's why you get like an 18-year-old superstar in the NBA who just knows how to jump, whatever. Okay, but if you were to transfer that into modern day skills, video editing, coding, being a professional gamer, all these things, they're not second nature to us. You put a kid in front of a screen with a gaming controller, they have no fucking idea what they're doing. Of course they don't. But if you said to them, punch this punch bag, they'd probably be okay at it. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be the worst in the world. You'd be like, well, you're hitting the bag, you got the basics sort of thing. But in terms of like, okay, type up this note, they'd be like, I don't know where the kid, like, it's not there. And this is the problem with our generation and why people are getting disheartened, is the things that, outside of sports, singing, the basics, whatever, things that are just epigenetically based or genetically based, is very, very hard to learn the skills that make us wealthy or successful quick. Okay? You want to create an app? You can't just do that off a whim. You have to like go to school or learn from somebody or do an online course. And even then, you're probably not going to be very good. Okay, even then you need to like do this for like 5-10 years before you become a top level coder or whatnot, or to the extent that you can build an app. And then you need to bring other people in that have got a different varied skill set. We're in different times, guys. We're in completely different times. Like if we were to go back 2,000 years, at 29, I'm pretty sure I would be like a lieutenant or a general or something of like a Roman legion. I'd be like very, very high up. I probably wouldn't be this tall, but tall guy, strong, athletically blessed, able to fight very well, a big strong punch, could probably swing a sword pretty well too, I'm fast, whatever, so like, I'd give decent speeches and stuff like that, so I imagine I'd have quite a high ranking position. In this generation, it's almost like, if you're not an athlete, it's like, so what? What does that matter? It's almost like that skill set has become obsolete. That's why you've got so many like blumbering idiots in this generation. Like you see it in like cartoons, they'll take the mick out of it. Just the big 6'4" idiot with no brain. Because in this generation, what matters most is kind of the skills that you can learn along the way. And that is why I think our generation have become the first ever generation of losers. But we need to relax because it's not our fault. We're learning on the job here. Okay, it's like Bruce Lee said, you've got to be like water. If you put water into a cup or a vase or a tube, it will emulate that shape. It will just like splash about, mold to that shape, and it will become that shape. That's basically what his quote says. We need to do the same thing. We're in like unprecedented times here, okay? Like all the skills that we've learned over the last like 10,000 years, pretty much obsolete now. They don't count as much as they used to. Now, being a big, strong, athletic guy, look, they're still useful, but you're not actually using it as often as you used to. Women might look at you and be like, attractive guy, but people don't care as much as they used to. It doesn't hold as much weight as it used to. The tech geek with 2 billion in the bank and nice assets probably holds equal, if not more than weight compared to like a 6'4" jock who's a fucking moron and is broke and his life's going nowhere and he's got poor hygiene. It's never happened before in human history. And it's because of the way that things have changed. Like I said, you want to make an app? Probably going to be like 5-10 years of learning, okay? And if it's not, you're going to hire somebody. It's like 5-10 years of saving up money to be able to afford that and push it all forward. We're in different times now. Things are slower. You've got to be more patient. Okay, the days are gone of 16-year-olds, newly crowned king, Richard the Ninth. I'm just making shit up because all these kings fucking thing is annoying. There's so many of them. They're only knowing that is only good for like quiz shows. I swear to God, that's all school is good for, is quiz shows. And those days are gone. Some 16-year-old newly crowned king just conquering France or something like that. Like it's just not going to happen now. Okay, so before you like start panicking, and there's definitely something epigenetically that panics our brains and goes, we're 21 years old, we should be successful. I'm 25, I should be successful. There's definitely something in there that taps away at us and almost says like, all of your ancestors by this age had this and had this and had this, and it makes us panic. But like I said, we're in a different era now. We're living longer, things have changed. The rule set is completely different. What we're trying to achieve takes longer. What used to matter basically doesn't. Like, we are the first generation of like primates that have had to kind of live almost without the physicality aspect. Now, it matters for like aesthetic purposes. You want to protect yourself now and again. Like, I uploaded that boxing video yesterday or the day before. And you guys can see I'm not the best in the world, but I'm pretty fucking good at it. I can't remember the last time I had a fight, guys. I'm very good at it. It doesn't pay me. Do you know what I mean? If I get enough followers to fight Jake Paul, fantastic. I'll go and knock his ass out and pick up a couple million. Great. You know, I'd be looking forward to that. Other than that, probably from the age of like 23 when I had my last fight, all the way up to like, you know, when I fight Jake Paul or something like that, or a scenario like that, it's just meaningless skill. Do you see what I mean, guys? It's just pointless. The whole game has changed. The skill set's changed. So instead of like stressing yourself and being like, that sports athlete is 21, I'm 25, I haven't done anything. Or reading about like Alexander the Great was 21 and he had accomplished this and conquered these. It's like, it's different times. The rule set's different, okay? So stop panicking, guys. We're the first generation. Just adapt to this shit. It's completely different now. Just adapt to it. Convince your brain we're in the long game. We're the first generation of this. We're the guinea pigs for this new age like way of trying to get to the top. Just be patient, okay? Now, yeah, there are like 16-year-olds that have that skill set early on and they can create an app and they can become successful. There's another side of the coin where it's like, you don't have to be that 40-year-old that's worked his way up the corporate world, you know, but that was maybe the first generation. Like that whole corporate world thing. And we've kind of like stretched it a little bit. We've got a little bit more used to it, but just don't panic too much, guys, because it's not the same as it used to be where you could just go out and kill somebody and now suddenly you've risen up the ranks. Like it's a weird world now. Like once you add in like legalities and a proper, you know, justice system and there's rules in place and society works differently, like it's a stepping stone game. You got to take it step by step, so don't stress yourself too much. Check out the Male Advantage paperback, ebook and audiobook using the links below.